Hi everybody, Dan Illman taking a look at the DRFBets race of the day for Thursday, October the 18th. It's race number 8 at Keeneland, graded stakes action on the turf. It's the grade 3 Sycamore going 1.5 miles. Bet it with a DRFBets account. When you sign up at bets.drf.com, you receive a 300% deposit match. Here's the field for the Sycamore, and you can access free formulator past performances for this race on the race of the day event page at drf.com. Download them, handicap along with me. I'll take the field in post position order, beginning with the number 1, Summon Tiemme. And I really thought in the spring of 2017 this horse was going to be a factor and a major player in the longer distance turf division. Coming off of a big win in the grade 3 Louisville handicap at this 1.5 mile distance, but that race proceeded a layoff. Something physically must have gone amiss. And aside from one solid effort in the John B. Connolly at Sam Houston back in January, this horse really hasn't done much running. He'd be wheeling back on 6 days. He does not have a lot of early speed, and while a fast pace is projected, I'm not sure in the form he's in right now he is the best closer in this race. He has that one race, the Louisville of 2017, but he just hasn't really gotten back to that performance. He's a big price. I won't talk anyone off of him because he does have the ability to win it, but I want sharper horses right now. The number 2 Cooptado I think is an interesting long shot at 20-1, and I'd want to fool around in all sorts of wagers with this horse. He is a millionaire that really ran well last time out in the Laurel Turf Cup at this distance. It was his first start off a little bit of a layoff, and maybe he just benefited from the really testing going. It was a very yielding turf course at Laurel that day, and he got a nice setup as well. Hello Don Julio is being pressured on some fast fractions, but Cooptado tried hard at 115-1 and was only beaten 3/4 of a length. He finished right in between Hello Don Julio and Postulation. Those two horses came back to run 1-2 in the point of entry stakes at Belmont last week with buyers of 101 and 99 respectively. This horse has enough tactical speed to clear the 1 and the 3 and perhaps grab that prime pocket stalking position. Cooptado's going to be a big price one more time, and again, he might be a horse to fool around with at the very least on the bottom of exotic wagers. The number 3 Campaign, a $675,000 yearling purchase and son of Curlin, began his career looking like he might be a little bit of a disappointment, but he has found himself since being stretched out on turf. This is what he's waited for his whole career, but he is a lightly raced 3-year-old that is a little bit slow on buyers, taking on tough older horses. He's also a one-run closer that is likely going to be at the mercy of race and pace luck, but you can't deny the improvement he has shown on turf, and he might be a horse to follow next year on longer distance races on the grass for trainer Asmussen. Don't think he beat much of a field last time out in that entry-level allowance race at Kentucky Downs. I'm sure Steve would love to get a piece of the purse with Campaign and hope for a 4-year-old Campaign that could produce some dividends. The 4 is Oscar nominated. This horse has banked $1.5 million in his career. He is just simply a hard hitter that shows up each and every time, a multiple graded stakes winner, and he's been beautifully handled by Mike Maker. He ran in the Kentucky Turf Cup last time out. He was the beaten favorite that day, but it was his first start since the United Nations, and maybe he just needed that race. This is a horse that always seems to fire, but I wonder if he's going to take a little bit too much money based on reputation than what we've seen in his last 2 races. He was beaten by Arklow, finished behind a couple of these last time out. In the UN, he was beaten by Fantastic, who was a big price. I realized there was not a lot of pace in that race, but Oscar nominated is a horse that can be a little bit closer to the pace. I just wonder where he is from a form standpoint, and he's going to be bet again based on his reputation and connections. The horse that they all have to fear is the number 5 Arklow for trainer Brad Cox, who finished ahead of 4 of these rivals in that Kentucky Turf Cup, and he got a great ride from Florent Giroux that day, who was basically able to save as much ground as possible on the backstretch. Split horses entering that long straight, split horses again 3 wide at about the 8th pole, and just kept on his business and was basically being geared down at the end to win by only a half a length. This horse has really run well in his last 2 starts, and while his one big performance, the one race that you point to and say that he's the horse to beat in this race, came at Kentucky Downs, a track that some horses handle and some horses don't, he doesn't need to take his racetrack with him. He has already won at all 4 Kentucky racetracks on the turf. Arklow is a horse that also can be tactical. He was up close when he won at Ellis Park 2 starts back. He came from off the pace last time out, and it'll be up to Giroux to basically figure out how the pace is going to be played and place Arklow wherever. He goes out for the dangerous Brad Cox, and arguably he is the horse to beat. He finished just ahead of Bigger Picture in his most recent start. Here is another millionaire. He's banked 1.3 in his career, and 3 starts back in the Bowling Green. He ran really well behind Channel Maker, who just won the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. 101 buyer speed figure that day. That was a race where there wasn't a lot of closing going on. and Bigger Picture was rallying from the back of the pack to only be beaten a length. In the Sword Dancer, he caught firm turf, and Glorious Empire wired him. I was a little bit disappointed that he didn't fire there, but he did come back with a good performance off only 2 weeks' rest in the Kentucky Turf Cup to get back into form. Bigger Picture is a horse that usually runs very solid races, especially at Keeneland, an 11-time winner that must be considered. Slickly Done, the number 7, was 109 to 1 in an optional claiming race at Indiana Downs most recently. He ran last that day, and he is going to really have to improve, stretching out a half mile and stepping up in class, 50 to 1 on the morning line. Final Copy might have had a couple of excuses for that Laurel Turf Cup last time out. Not only, as I mentioned, was it yielding turf course, but he was also battling Hello Don Julio, a very sharp horse on the lead, before paying the price. Now, the pace scenario of this race might be difficult as well. There are other horses that want the lead. This horse I think you should upgrade if the turf course comes up firm. He seems to be better suited to a firm turf course than he is to any kind of turf course with a give on it, but I think he's also a kind of horse that likes it when he's able to relax out there on the lead, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case. The number 9, Zulu Alpha, is stepping up off the claim. He was taken for $80,000 last time out. Trainer John Ortiz is winning at a 20% rate this year. We got a good formulator fact for Ortiz. Past couple of years, older last out winners on the turf, 36% winners, a 243 ROI. I mean, this horse exploded last time out for Neil Howard. 103 Beyer speed figure seemingly coming out of nowhere, and it makes me wonder if it was really just a case of trip, because he got a beautiful trip and ride under Channing Hill. He saved ground every step of the way. The rail opened up turning for home. He didn't have a straw in his path, and he just shot right on through to win by 10 lengths. It was a very visually impressive performance, but he got a great trip at a much shorter distance, and now he's going to have to do it at a mile and a half. We take a look at the Timeform US Pace Projector, and they have Zulu Alpha out there on the lead, but that red bar might give cause for pause, because if he has to go fast, stretching out to a mile and a half with some really solid horses chasing him early, he could pay the price. But this is a horse that's going to be a good price on the tote board. He is in very good form. He does have a good formulator fact, and he's usable. The number 10 is Nessie, and Nessie I've chased for a while, and he needed a ship out to the West Coast to get his graded stakes win this year in a week edition of the San Juan Capistrano, and ever since coming back, he's just been in tough. I'm not going to hold the Kentucky Turf Cup against him. I wanted to give him a shot at 12 to 1 that day, and Nessie just didn't fire. He doesn't seem to like Kentucky Downs. He's run 3-4 times there now with no success. This is a horse that needs pace. He is not even in your pace projector. He is the deep closer that would be way off of the screen. But that fast-paced red bar might help Nessie. Ian Wilkes has done a good job with him. I just wonder if this horse has a winning profile. 12 times of 24, second or third. Again, another horse that will be a good price. Can't Help Believing is a horse that I really think you should keep an eye on in this race. This was a horse that was getting really good for Graham Motion in the summer of 2017. He won the Grade 2 Sky Classic up at Woodbine, and then he went away. And we didn't see him for over a year. He returned in an optional claiming race at Woodbine last time out, and he showed that he could still run. He was wired in a race that featured a very slow pace. He was wrangled back off of the pace. There was some traffic issues, but he ran at the end. I thought it was a really rock-solid performance for a horse that certainly has the back races to win this. His second start of the form cycle with tactical speed as well. If Can't Help Believing goes off at those double-digit odds, I think it could be a little bit closer than where the pace projector has him, the number 11. He's really dangerous. Teodoro, the number 12, is up close according to the Timeform US Pace Projector, and I wouldn't be surprised at that at all. Last time out, he was thrown to the wolves in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. Not only did he have to deal with Breeders' Cup turf-bound horses like Channel Maker, Robert Bruce, and Sadler's Joy in his first North American start, but he also had to deal with just a very boggy turf course in a difficult pace situation where he battled it out with Channel Maker early before paying the price. This horse really got good toward the end of his European campaign. Group winner 3 starts back. I wonder how he's going to handle a fast pace in here if he is in chase mode. I wonder if it's a similar situation as the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic, but he does seem well spotted at this class level, and maybe he wants a little bit firmer turf. Harlan Strong, trained by Kenny McPeak, just like the number 1 Summon TMA, would be coming back on short rest. His form recently is not that great, but he has won at Keeneland at a mile and a half when he was able to get to the lead. He is somewhat versatile, but this is a very tough outside post position, and chasing a fast pace in the form he's in right now might not be a recipe for success. We take a look at my top pick for the Sycamore. I wish I could get more clever Arklow, I just think, is in raging form right now. He is the horse to beat based on his last few races for Brad Cox, who just seems to win with everything. And he's got the tactical speed to basically work out his own trip. I'm not sure he's the kind of horse I'd lean on greatly in any kind of multiple race wagers. I'd want to fool around with some other horses. I think Zulo Alpha, coming off the perfect trip win, is a little bit interesting, perhaps to be used as a backup. And then I've got horses like Bigger Picture that I just can't throw out. He would be a horse I'd use in multiple race wagers, maybe with equal value of Arklow. And Cooptado, a horse that you might want to fool around with underneath as well. It's a real fun race. 5, 9, 6, and 2. You can go certainly with horses like Can't Help Believing as well if he goes off at a good price. Something tells me he gets bet off of the 10-to-1 morning line. Arklow, my top pick in the Sycamore. Again, it's a race and a card that you can bet with a DRFBets account. Sign up, get the 300% deposit match at bets.drf.com. Approximate post time for the Grade 3 Sycamore, race number 8 at Keeneland on Thursday, 4:57 Eastern. Good luck.